Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today's Saturday. Hope you're having a great weekend. It is Eric Larsen Day, so we're looking at the next issue of his Savage Dragon run from the early 90s. This is issue number 15, cover dated December 1994. Yeah, that's it. Not much to say about the cover. I've mentioned before how I feel that the covers in around this period are quite dark when it comes to the color. This one is no exception. Feels like the colorist is maybe making a little bit of effort to put a bit more kind of glow and lighting effects and stuff. Still not enough though, just generally murky overall. And as we move ahead, we'll see in the later issues in the early 20s, it's going to start to brighten up a little bit. And I will obviously point it out as we get there, but just so you can compare and contrast, right? So not a horrible cover. I mean, art-wise, it's awesome. It's a great kind of iconic shot of the Savage Dragon. I think this was on a t-shirt possibly at some point. But the colors do tend to make it a little bit murky for my taste. But other than that, great cover. Let's have a look inside. So I'm going to focus maybe more, like the art is great in this issue. As always, Eric Larsen, I think, is always solid in the art department. Same kind of creative team. I'm not going to go through them for this episode. I'll do it next episode again if you want. But what I like about this issue is a good example of smart writing, right? So up to this point in Savage Dragon, you know, we've had a mini series. We've had 12 issues of the Savage Dragon. Then we had Image X month where Jim Lee drew an issue, and then, you know, Eric Larsen did Wildcats 14. So he came back last issue with issue 14, and it seems like maybe, I'm just throwing this out there, some people were confused, or there's a few things that weren't quite sure about. So this issue is almost like a recap issue, right? Marvel used to do this a lot, you know, every 25 issues or so, whatever, just a recap issue to bring you up to speed as to where all the characters are, just in case you're maybe a newer reader who's jumping on somewhere around this point here. So the recap is basically telling you that Rapture and Freak Force, they're off on a mission somewhere else, right? The Overlord is wondering about Frank, and what's his name? Skullface has found Frank, right? Last issue at the phone booth. And this little leech here that you see here is to remind you that Savage Dragon's basically been possessed by one of them. They attach to the back of your skull and possess your mind, right? And it's actually, I do believe, yeah, it is Savage Dragon doing all the narration here. So here he's explaining where Freak Force is, but later on I'll read to you some of the narration, because again, story-wise, I just think he found a very clever way to still have a story go on here, and it's not a huge story. It's basically a fight, but it's an A fight and a B fight, right? So A story, B story, and through that, and you know, opposing those two fights throughout, as you'll see with the storytelling and the page layout, and eventually building to almost like each character being featured on a separate page and giving you the narration that, again, intelligently and smartly and entertainingly, I guess, gives you the all the backstory that you need and all the recaps that you need to understand where you are, in case you haven't read the other stuff. And if you have read the other stuff, it's kind of just a refresher than kind of knocking you over the head with stuff you already know. So Dragon's been possessed. We got a big kind of splash page of him, I assume, assaulting and possibly more than likely killing this other cop here. Busts out of where they were, right, and heads towards the city. And I think the off-kilterness, or the off-kilter panels here, is on purpose to give, again, the idea that Savage Dragon is not quite himself. So story-wise, She-Dragon actually shows up to the station. She wants to help them out. She says, you know, and the captain here, whoever he is, explains that they already tried that, and it's, you know, hasn't worked out, so good luck. And this is basically a direct continuation from last issue. So Skullface, you know, Frank moves out of the way as Skullface smashes the phone booth. Phone booth obviously is a very foreign, old concept to a lot of kids today, but these, I think, would be quarters. They're kind of flying out of the phone because people had to pay in these phone booths, right? So we get 2 pages of Frank, right, confronting Skullface, shooting him, bounces right off. Obviously, Frank's in the shit and he's in trouble, right? You can't stop me, Frankie. You'll never stop me. Kind of looks like a clown, right? Almost looks like it. Then we've got Larsen's playing on the J. Jonah Jameson trope. This guy's name is R. Richard Richards. So I don't think he's trying to hide it in any way. And again, character kind of gets introduced on this page, and you got a bit of narration from the Savage Dragon explaining who he is, right? And he has a hard-on for Savage Dragon, not in the sense that he wants to make love to him, but in the sense that just like he thinks Spider-Man is a menace, he thinks Savage Dragon is a menace, right? And then you got Peter here. Thanks for making the trip down here. So Peter Clapton, this character, basically kind of an analog to Peter Parker, is also Star, right? Who will appear a little later on this issue. So She-Dragon goes downtown. You kind of prepping her to be kind of a good foil to Savage Dragon, maybe. I don't know what's gotten into you, Dragon. One thing's for sure, I'm going to kick the crap out of you. And Savage Dragon punches her once, and she just kind of flies into the building, and that's the end of it. And the building even falls. So now what we get as we move throughout the story is what I was talking about, the A and the B fight. So we get the continuing fight between Skullface and Frank, where here Frank actually grabs a bus and drives Skullface right into a wall. And then we move over to Savage Dragon possessed and basically destroying the city. Also, proportion-wise, we're getting close to, maybe in another year and something, will be the crossover issue with Spawn, where Greg Capullo drew him. And we're getting close to what Greg Capullo, I guess, saw at that point when I guess he had to look at Savage Dragon comics for reference. The huge upper body and the smaller legs, right? That's kind of, Larsen's moving more and more towards that kind of proportion for Savage Dragon. So we get a page with this guy, right? Howard, I'll start reading them because it's kind of interesting. Again, it gives you backstory on some of these characters. Howard Neisman stands 6'8". This guy is a monster of a man, about as big and mean as a normal human gets. He's a bigot and makes no apologies for it. He nearly got kicked off the force for beating the crap out of an innocent black man. He was the toughest cop in Chicago until I came along. He doesn't like that or me very much. He doesn't like the idea of working with freaks, although he's mellowed out a little since we first met. So, he's basically cheering for them to kill Savage Dragon. This shot seems familiar, like Larsen used it earlier on in the series for something. It's definitely a composition he's used before. I'd have to look back, but if anyone knows, let me know in the comments. So again, we're moving back and forth, and now what's each page again is kind of introducing each of the characters and the menagerie around Savage Dragon, right? The supporting characters. So we've got Rita Metermaid. That's a funny name. Is a brawny redhead. She's 6'4" and built like a tank. She seems pretty shy around me. Stares at me a lot. Blushes when I look up. She's a good officer, but a bit too hesitant at times. William Johnson is a feisty and wiry a man of action. Damn good in a brawl, so he saves her from being smashed by Savage Dragon, right? He's an undercover cop, and he seems to be everywhere. He covers a lot of ground, knows more than you'd think. So the weird kind of juxtaposition, it's like the Savage Dragon is non-control, so he can still think his regular thoughts, but he can't control his body, I guess, is the sense I'm getting from the narration, because there doesn't seem to be any hostility from the dragon in the narration, but definitely from his, physical actions. Poster insert by Eric Larsen. So I think it was last issue where it said, next month, another poster by, So I guess Eric Larsen's starting to have trouble getting the artist to hand stuff in on deadline or whatever. So he, I guess, has a few backup kind of pinups that he uses. This was used as a Hero cover. Hero was kind of trying to compete with Wizard magazine. Same kind of subject matter and comic book coverage kind of magazine. I always like this cover because it was nice to see Eric Larsen, even though they're on a small scale, drawing all the other Image characters. And if he's going to do that cover, obviously he's a little bit self-serving and putting the dragon really big, but hey, if you're going to be doing that illustration, that makes sense. And all the other Image characters kind of pale in comparison because they're tiny. Again, I do think maybe this is a reference to an older kind of vintage cover for something. It's after someone, it's an homage. I might be wrong, but definitely takes a lot of inspiration from covers from the past like this. But yeah, just fun to see him drawing. Like he's drawn Spawn, Shaft, Wildstar, Pit, the Max, right, which is a rare one, and Eric Larsen. I know the Max is going to guest star in the Savage Dragon soon, so I can't wait for it because I want to see Larsen's artistic interpretation of the Max. I think he does a pretty good job. Even just from seeing this, he's pretty true to the basic idea of what the Max should look like. And then seeing him draw, I guess the Cyberforce characters, the ones he least wanted to draw, so he put him behind everyone else. Just a guess, but I think that's probably true. They are kind of the lamest of the image characters from the initial offering, I think. So it introduces more characters here, right? Some other kind of super team, I guess. And back to Frank Castle getting his ass handed to him. Back to the dragon, right? Having kicked these guys' asses, basically. So it's like, you know, there's 2 pages. Now there's 1 page, right? The way we're going from story A to story B is getting faster and faster, right? So again, a good kind of issue to get a lot across. Still got lots of Savage Dragon action. And again, lots of backstory on the characters. Some recap. So another example here, Star shows up. Star, this vigilante I met early in my career, in the first issue, right? I was sent in to rescue this hostage, Amanda Mills, and he came in and fired some of his shuriken at the bad guys. He helped save her life. Yeah, that's issue 1. I'm not too keen on vigilantes, but Star's an okay guy. He doesn't seem to be doing this for a sadistic kick like Mace or that Shadowhawk clown. He seems genuinely altruistic. So again, Star clearly is the Spider-Man type character, right? Peter Clapton. Got some cool shots here, like definitely some action-packed stuff. It's Eric Larsen, you know. I would expect no less. And, you know, again, I won't talk that much about the art in this issue just because, I mean, it's stellar as always. The storytelling, you know, the use of shadows, silhouettes and stuff. I've got nothing to say. Larsen's got it, right? And then Mace shows up. Pretty cool splash there. And that's how this issue is going to end, guys. Anything interesting? Just the letters page. I don't know if this ever came out. Shadowhawk Vampirella, Creatures of the Night. A love story dripping in blood. Would have been nice to see it in color and get all the red in there. Book 1, February 14th from Harris. Book 2, February 28th from Image. Be interesting to look that up. I don't know if that ever came out. If I can get those for cheap, I'd probably do a review. Seems very 90s. So there you go, guys. That is my review of the Savage Dragon issue number 15. You have any questions, comments, concerns, answer some of my questions, please feel free to hit the comments below and let me know. Those of you who are still subscribed and still watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Those who are watching but are not subscribed, please do so below. It takes very little time for you and it really helps out the channel, helps get us out there, helps grow our reach, and hopefully getting to reach people who are into the same stuff that we are, namely comic books. So everyone out there, thank you so much for watching and have yourselves an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby Volume 1, issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like! Subscribe!